What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Hops Geek News, your home for comic books, movies, TV shows. Typically, we do feature a beer. Just a quick shout out to a local craft brewery. I am Matt. With me, as always, is Lauren. And if this is your first time listening to us, we typically go into some news. We do what we've been reading or watching, and then we do have our main topic. And if this is, you're coming back to listen to us, thank you so much for coming back. Make sure everybody like, subscribe, share, follow on all social media platforms. YouTube, we're really close to 1,000 there. And then, of course, just, drop a review on the podcast platforms. Help us with the algorithm, help the podcast grow. And then if you so kindly want to support the show, patreon.com/HopsGeekNews. You get ad-free episodes. We watch monthly Patreon movies together. I think January we're going to watch Blade, and then of course you also get early access to episodes and things of that nature. Today's episode, we're celebrating a lot of anniversaries this year, but one in particular that I don't think we are both ready for is the 30th anniversary of a film called Toy Story. So we are going to talk about Toy Story today, our memories. We're going to go into some production notes and then, of course, some fun facts. It is a movie that really kickstarted Pixar. It's deeply ingrained into society and our brains and our childhoods and everything of that nature. I feel like no matter what generation you grew up in, you watched Toy Story in some regard. So we will be talking about that. First things first, no beer for me. I am drinking a smoothie, protein smoothie. It's morning time. I'm kind of sick. I just got done running, but there's a Captain America themed protein in this, and it's a birthday cake, and Toy Story takes place at Andy's birthday to start. So I guess I'm kind of going along with the theme. Lauren, welcome. What do you have on over there?
So I'm currently still drinking coffee in this amazing Wolvie mug that I got yesterday. It was mixed in with the Christmas stuff at Kohl's, and it was like 60% off. So I got it, or no, 40% off. I got it for $12, which I definitely didn't need another Wolverine mug or mug period, but it's so cool. It makes it look like I have claws when I'm drinking it. I absolutely love it. I do, however, have a ginger ale on deck because there are preschool toys around, so I can't drink what I want to drink. But it's also because it's 11:30 on a Thursday. But I have this amazing Buzz Lightyear glass that I got from Glass to Mouth. So you can see he's being pulled up drinking a beer in the claw, and on the other side,
the claw.
So I love the you can see he's drinking a stout in the Mrs. Nesbitt scene and rather than tea. So I love that glass. It's fantastic. So that's what I'm drinking. It's just coffee.
Nice. Some things we also like to do is going into what we've messed up on or looked into. Number one, first and foremost, there's a really big crisis going on right now in Los Angeles. I just wanted to touch on real quick. Fires. There's a lot of comic book creators that we know and are friends with that are affected. A lot of just people that are affected and some friends of ours that are affected. So I just want to go over a couple things. If you guys want to donate, you can donate to the American Red Cross for wildfire disaster relief. You can donate to Los Angeles area food banks, the Los Angeles area fire department foundation. You can donate to World Central Kitchen. You can donate to California wildfires. And United Way of Greater Los Angeles is another really cool place. So there's a lot of resources out there that you can donate if you want to. I honestly don't care. The celebrities are losing their houses. Yeah, it's sad and everything like that, but they're rich. It's the people that aren't, right? Like comic book creators is first and foremost, like nobody gets rich off of comic books, right? Unless, you become a big fan. I don't know. Nobody gets rich off of comic books. And there's a lot of people that we know that live out there. Jackson Lansing, Colin Kelly, I believe David Pepose is out there, a lot more from Marvel, DC, Image, everything like that we've really been fortunate enough to get to know through this podcast. And then
even see like Mark Hamill's been posting about evacuating.
Mark Hamill's had to evacuate. Kevin Smith, I imagine as well. Runyon Canyon's on fire. Palisades are gone. It's burning Malibu. It's really bad. And the winds are, it's dry season. It's windy. So it's really bad out there. So if you guys, anything you want to do to help, we'll try to set something up maybe too, but anything, and just hopefully everybody's good out there. And if you're listening and you need some assistance, reach out to us. We will see what we can do for you. But first and foremost, there's that. And then also one of our listeners, Gibson, man, he's really cool. Awesome guy. Shout out to him. He's been in our Discord. He's been a fan of the show. He mentioned a couple of things, his list of the most anticipated of 2025 that he's been looking forward to. We missed a couple.
One of them, I know. I was shocked at how stupid we are.
What did we miss? Because I can't believe, first, I know for a fact I left Fallout of my number of 2024. Sorry, I messed up on that a couple weeks ago. But we messed up on some 25.
Did we leave out Fallout?
We forgot Fallout. Yes, we did.
Okay, and we also forgot Echo, which I didn't realize until today. It came up on my memories. I'm like, that came out in 2024. I thought it was older.
Yeah.
So next year, when we do our recap of 2025, I'm going to scroll through because I have an Excel sheet of every episode we've ever done. So I'm just going to scroll through that because anything we absolutely love, we podcast on usually.
We do.
And so we did a whole Echo episode. I think we did Fallout live.
Like we did. We were talking about Fallout, and we both really loved Fallout.
I think some of the things are when you binge something so fast, I feel like you don't think about it for a long time and it comes in and goes so quick. But Echo was week to week. I don't know. I guess
so was Fallout, but there was so much stuff. I mean, if you release stuff in January, February, March, true. So it's really easy to kind of get lost. Like, oh my gosh, Dune even on early in the year and everything, for example. So
Nerd
it's really
Initiative,
hard.
yeah. But those 3, I didn't add The Boys. What the fuck is wrong with me? That's like one of my all-time favorites. I don't
know. But there's some 2025. One of the which. Yeah, how do we forget Andor is getting ready to come out this year? I don't know.
Gibson mentioned that. I was like, how did we not realize that? And I even searched Star Wars shows for 2025. Marvel, like I don't just go on memory. I Google too.
No, yeah, we actually put research. Believe it or not, we do put research into the show, whether it shows sometimes or not. We really do. Yeah. We really do put research into this. But yeah, I can't believe we kind of forgot that. It's supposed to come out.
We're not the best.
April 22nd on Disney Plus. Is that the right date?
So I saw that on multiple websites, but I haven't seen Disney push that or Star Wars push that. So it's looking like that is the date. If once we get a definitive one from Marvel or Disney, we will.
And we'll recap Andor season 1 and kind of bring everybody up to speed because we really like to do that as well. So
yeah.
All right. Yeah. Well, Lauren, why don't you go into what we've been reading or watching and tell everybody what we have been reading or watching lately.
So this week I only had one review that I did for Nerd Initiative. That is Wolverine number 5 by Saladin Ahmed and Martin Kokola. That's been a great, fantastic Wolverine run so far. And what I love about it, it is very classic Wolverine. You're getting the Canadian wilderness. You get a Wendigo. You get all these, things, but there's spins on all of it. So when you think you're like, oh, okay, I know the Wolverine story is enough. I know this is going to happen next. No, there's a fun spin on it. So I think it's just like kind of the perfect what you would want from a Wolvie comic because you can't go too far away from the character. You can't go too far away from his stories or it becomes not Logan anymore. So I'm really liking that. They're doing a fantastic job on that. I did start a Steven Spielberg book.
What is it?
Stephen King.
Oh, I was like, Steven Spielberg wrote books? I didn't know that. Okay.
As soon as that came out of my mouth, I'm like, that is wrong. But I will talk about that once I finish it. It's called Dead Zone. I'm loving it so far. But as far as comic books, you left me 6 volumes of Ice Cream Man. So I believe it was issues 1 to 24. I have read all of those. Very interesting. I then went to go search because I know Ken just did like a review on the newest one. And I didn't realize it's like up to issue 40 something. So now I got to go get those volumes. But what I'm loving about that is from Image Comics, if anyone's not familiar. And you were raving about it years ago. I remember you talking about it like consistently for a while.
It's so good. It's still going on. Issue 43 just came out this past week. It is seriously like my favorite horror anthology in a comic book series. So good.
Yeah, and what I love about it though is I really feel like it is horror, but it's all about mental illness is what I'm gathering.
Oh, definitely. There's a suicide in one of them.
Yeah. And even like the little gremlins like taking the guy's memory, it was like, was that Alzheimer's? Is that just getting old? Is that dementia? They're literally stealing his memories. And so it's been very, very interesting. And then they had a Christmas one that was actually kind of cool how they did it. There wasn't really much of a story. It was just like going through an advent calendar. And I don't want to say too much about any of it because it's really fun, but it's not there is an overall story kind of with the Ice Cream Man. And it's very interesting.
You don't really know. You kind of get glimpses of like what he's about and who he is, but you're right. There's not a full defined thread throughout. So I'm curious how he plays in, I guess. I haven't caught up. I'm waiting for I have to get the latest trade. So I'm admittedly a little bit behind, but yeah, you don't really get a coherent like what's going on. There is something more to him, but we haven't gotten that yet.
But it's almost like, is he even real or is this something we make up in our imagination? So we can blame other people. We can blame these things on gremlins. We can, blame all this, but it's such a neat analogy and it's dark. It's definitely dark humor and whatnot too. But yeah, so I'm really glad you left that here. I have all 6 volumes here in the guest room. So ready to go home with you. And Lucky Devils. Did you read that one?
I did not read that one. Did you read it?
So I did. I had to grab it.
Ooh, okay.
So it's Charles Soule and Ryan Brown, and a bunch of people at Nerd Initiative were raving about it. I actually had looked and I was like, okay, I want to review that one. But there were already like 5 people that had
said it's off the heels of 8 Billion Genies, which 8 Billion Genies was wicked good.
Well, now I need to go get that because I haven't read that. So the reason I grabbed it was Ryan Brown did Barfly, and I absolutely loved his art in Barfly.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
he has a bunch of Easter eggs and stuff in the background. I found 2 craft beer Easter eggs.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah. I thought that was really cool. I saw Half Acre and Zombie Dust. And the story's hilarious. It's fantastic. And of course, the art is great. So I actually read that this morning, and I will definitely be weekday or Wednesday warrioring that issue. And I will be getting 8 Billion Genies.
I'm going to go to my comic book shop today, so I'll pick up Lucky Devils, probably give it a read, because I did really enjoy 8 Billion Genies, and I think you'll really enjoy that one as well.
I can't imagine I wouldn't with the 2 of them. So very happy I'm jumping on that hype train. So what have you read this week?
Oh, man, I read some good stuff. So starting with Absolute Batman issue 4, Scott Snyder, DC. This one, it's so good. Oh my gosh. It is an origin story, but not the origin story you all think of when you think of Batman. It's got some really good flashback sequences to Bruce doing a school project, talking with his dad, talking through what his dad thinks. And his dad kind of has this really good tender moment, bonding moment between the two of them. And his dad's a teacher in this universe. And there's flashes to another scene of Joe Chill kills Thomas Wayne. And so Bruce is in the courtroom and he wants to go first and say something to the courtroom. Usually Joe Chill is going to go up, but Bruce had something to say. It gets really deep, really emotional. There's such raw, pure emotion from child Bruce, basically saying, I'm never going to forgive you. You've ruined my life. I'm not going to sit here and listen to you talk. So I'm saying my piece and I'm leaving. And then it goes into Bruce discussing his project, which has to do with bats. He's always had this affliction with bats. And then he kind of shows a montage of him creating this version of Batman, getting bigger, getting stronger. And also it has some modern day Bruce Wayne as Batman doing some really cool stuff with his technology. So it is such a good telling and retake on the Batman origin story that remains fresh because Thomas and Martha Wayne. However, Martha Wayne's not dead in this universe. And I don't want to spoil too much about the Absolute Batman run in case you haven't read it, but it's really, really damn good. This is a fresh take on Batman himself and Bruce Wayne that I really, really, there's a reason why it's the most highest selling book from DC right now. There's a reason, and it started in October. So did that.
It's like out every time. Like you got to tell your comic shop to put it in your box or it's going to be out by the time you get there.
100. Yeah. It sells out just like that. Second, third printing's going down, which is super cool. And that also is a reason why Batman, people are really into Batman, but Scott Snyder, I mean, the guy is amazing with Batman and the story as well. Going to that, DC All In continues with Aquaman issue number 1 from Jeremy Adams, John Timms, and Rex Locus. Oh my God, did I enjoy this. I'm a huge Aquaman fan. Admittedly, he's in my trinity of characters. It's Aquaman, Flash, and Batman.
I love Namor.
And he has new power in this. I don't want to spoil the power, but it's Aquaman who does not want to be king still. So he gets really excited at the thought of taking on some action. It starts off beautifully. The colors inside of this comic book are absolutely gorgeous. It's like in the movies when people open up a briefcase and it shines gold. That's almost what this feels like when you open up the pages. This is a comic book. It's shiny, it's bright, it's vibrant. It's got the Aquaman oranges and the greens, and the water's so blue and beautiful, and Atlantis is beautiful, and it ends on a really, really interesting cliffhanger. So we're going to see where this goes. So I think people really should be picking this up. And then the last thing that I read this week was Kill All Immortals number 5. This ends the first arc for Dark Horse Comics. Zach Kaplan, Fico Asio, Tiago Roca, and Hassan Otsmain Elhau. This has been one of my top comics that aren't superheroes to read of all of last year. The first arc has finally finished, I should say, and wraps up. Frey's story kind of wraps up, or does it? It ends on a really good cliffhanger. But again, holy crap. Fico just absolutely goes, or Tiago and Fico, I should say, both with the art and the colors. It is beautiful. There's some really deep purples against a orange background. The fight sequences, it's really bloody. It's really just brutal because they're fighting the brothers and the dad. They're all basically fighting each other. And so you get like really good oranges again. And it's just the color usage is amazing. And it kind of shows where their powers came from. And then again, it ends on a really good cliffhanger. So I really recommend when that trade comes out, people should really read Kill All Immortals. It's really, really, it's Succession meets John Wick with some really good history and things of that nature in there. So really, really should read that. It's from Dark Horse Comics. I cannot speak enough about that one. Moving into though, let's talk about some things that we've been watching. I obviously Supernatural. I've got 7 episodes left in the entire series.
I'm
It's kind
excited
of a
for you,
weird
and I feel
feeling.
bad for you. Yeah.
It's a weird feeling because season 15 has been brutal, really brutal.
It's good though. I
No,
liked
it's
season
good. No,
15,
I
and some
really
people,
enjoy
I
season
mean, like some
15.
people shit on it, and they're like, "Oh, I didn't even finish the show." Like
What?
there's some solid
How do you
episodes.
watch
Okay,
that and not finish the show? I'm
I
confused.
know a lot of people who are fans are like, "Oh, I just read the first 5 because that's Kripke's story," which that's fine. I respect that, but like, you can keep those, I think, separate. Like you can compartmentalize those and still continue to enjoy the show. I feel, but when I
I
love something, I
1000%.
generally want more of it. Except for Nightmare. Don't touch Nightmare with a 39.5 a pull.
Sure.
But okay, so Hero's Journey. I do want to talk just real quick on that, and obviously we're going to do
Oh
the rest of
yeah,
that in
yeah,
our
yeah,
main.
yeah.
So throughout the show, you used to be like, well, how do they get away with this? So how do they get away with that? And I'm
It
always like, they
makes
explain it
sense
later.
now.
So they literally, for one, had God on their side. And for two, they're just making fun of like every story that's ever been. Like, how does John McClane slide down a highway and not get road rash? Because he's the hero. It's the hero's journey. But they literally had God on their side.
God
So
gave
they
them
were
plot armor.
able
They explain it. Yeah, God gave
100%.
them plot armor, and I was like, oh,
And it's
that
so
makes sense
funny
now.
though, because it literally, it's an excuse for every single thing in all 15 or all
It is
14
well,
seasons of how could that even happen? Plot
but
armor.
that
Yeah.
goes into the episode Gamble that I want to talk about because they're trying to get their luck back, right? Or no, it wasn't Gamble. Was it Heroes? It was
Hero's Journey is the one with Garth.
okay. That's what it was. Sorry. No, you're right. You're right. Because in Hero's Journey, Dean has 17 cavities, and Sam is sick, and they can't eat cheese. He needs. I need the lactate. And so it's them like Dean, they're walking in this
They're
badass
being
montage to this
human.
monster fight club. And then Dean all of a sudden's like, I gotta go. He's gonna go throw up. Yeah, they are literally human. And Garth, oh my freaking God. Garth became like my favorite character next to Crowley. Probably might have been like my favorite side character that we don't see as often because Crowley was basically a full timer. Garth's not so much.
Right.
Oh my God. I love Garth. I would die for Garth. DJ Qualls absolutely in this episode cements Garth as the realest. When he walks in there, he's got the little hat, the things that he does. And it's always so funny when they go to fight they blows up with C4 and they're like, whoa, Garth. And then the bad guy comes walking out. And then Dean's just like, boom, 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 and punches. And it's,
I know. And he's like, is my voice higher? I feel like my
yeah,
voice is higher.
and after he's like, I'm hurt. It's in my ribs. And it's
He's like,
hilarious because you're right.
Yeah.
My biggest complaint was always, dude, how is their credit cards working? How are they not getting this? It was plot armor from God because they are fighting God in this season, and he made it so. And now he took all of that away, and
now
this
they're
is
dealing
why.
with real life. Cars breaking.
Yeah.
It's an old car. The car's breaking down. They're getting older. They got issues. They get sick. They get cavities.
It
But
makes everything
Garth
better.
or DJ Qualls talked a lot about that episode at the con, and he was like, yeah, having my hands in Jensen's mouth for hours was very interesting, but he took it like a champ. And then somebody asked Jensen what his like biggest fear is, and he said dentists.
Me too, dude. When they're scraping your teeth,
Oh, nobody likes it. It's terrible.
Even
But it
with
was
the new
just
like water
funny
flosser scraper thing they have now, gross.
It's still. I mean, it's not as bad, but it's still
Hurts.
rough.
I don't like it. Ugh. But dude, I can't wait to meet DJ. That's one person at MegaCon I want to talk to in person so bad because I mean, I've always loved him as an actor, but in Supernatural, man, like this episode, oh God, I could rave all day. But we're going to save it for our Supernatural episodes. I did watch Gladiator 2 from Ridley Scott.
Oh, yeah.
To be honest, I personally think Gladiator 2 was better than Gladiator 1, which might be a hot take.
Gladiator 1 since it came out.
It's been a long time for me. I like it. You know, it continues the Maximus story without saying too much. It is a continuation. It is a direct sequel. Pedro Pascal, enjoyed him. But this was Denzel Washington actually took me by surprise because I saw Denzel in the previews and I was, hey, Denzel is going to be playing Denzel in a weird out of place, but he wasn't actually. Denzel was doing really well, I thought, and the fight sequences were pretty great. I thought the story was really well done considering how are they going to make a sequel from Gladiator 1, and it made a lot of sense. And it takes place 16 years or something like that after, you know, the first Gladiator, and it's really good. I highly recommend people watch Gladiator 2 if you have not, because I slept on it. I admittedly did. I had no interest really in it too much. And then I watched Kraven. So this is going to be a hot take.
Seemed like okay. I haven't watched it yet, so make it a spoiler-free hot take.
Craven got unfairly dumped on because of, deservedly so, don't get me wrong, it's not a masterpiece. But because it's tied to Spider-Man and from Sony, I think people already went in with the notion that it was going to suck. Now, that said, if this movie had nothing to do with Spider-Man, it was titled anything else, it wouldn't have gotten the hate. It was better than Madam Web. Low bar, I know, but I've saw people coming out of theaters like, oh my God, I thought Madam Web was bad. Kraven was worse. No, actually, if you go in there with your brain expecting crap, and I went in there, I was like, this movie's not going to be good. However, I was pleasantly surprised. I thought Aaron Taylor Johnson did a really good job.
I love him. Yeah.
I would like to actually see him in the Marvel universe as Kraven with Spider-Man in some regard. I thought he was great. They were trying to push him as a hero, yeah, but they do talk about the fact that he's no better than his dad. He's a killer. And I thought there was some sequences that went on in the beginning a little too long. The fights weren't bad. There is a bad guy in the movie that people might know about, but the way they did him, I thought made sense. The overall bad guy made sense. It was actually a clever way to do it, and I didn't hate it. And so overall, the movie's not amazing. It was decent. It was something I could sit there and watch. Am I going to rush out to ever watch it again? No, probably not. But I don't think it was that bad of a movie. I really don't. It was definitely better than Venom, Let There Be Carnage. That's for sure. I haven't seen Venom 3 yet. But it was on par, if not better than even Venom, I would say. This movie isn't bad.
I don't hate the first two Venoms. I haven't seen the third.
Venom Let There Be Carnage is Venom too. I haven't seen the third one yet.
I haven't. Yeah, I didn't mind that one at all. I mean, it was. I guess at that point I knew what to expect, and it was exactly what I expected.
I mean, Venom 1 was, but I don't know. It wasn't a bad movie. So I'll say that. I really think that if people kind of go in there, just dude, you know what you're gonna get, but it really isn't bad, and I'll leave it at that. I guess that's the highest compliment you can pay a movie, which seems bad, but
everybody's shitting on.
Yeah. And the last thing that I watched is Wicked. I did see Wicked Part 1. I haven't read Wicked. I haven't seen the play. I've seen Wizard of Oz, but other than that, I don't really know too much from the Wicked universe.
Did you know anything going in? Like, did you know that Alphaba was going to be like a good guy?
No, I did. Spoiler, because this whole universe is like my mom's favorite thing, and Harper is obsessed with Wicked. Carrie likes it. I saw TikToks. I guess I'm really confused because
you only saw half of the story too. Because the other
I know. I guess I need to see the second because I'm really confused how this is the same witch that tries to kill Toto and Dorothy, and Glenda and Alphaba are still on decent terms. So the fact that you
just need to see the second half. It'll make more sense. I feel like I haven't seen the movie yet, but I've seen the musical, so I feel like
is Alphaba's sister crippled in a wheelchair in the book and the play too?
Oh God, I don't remember.
Okay, well, it's pretty messed up that they killed a girl who was in a wheelchair because her sister's in this, right? And they start off Wizard of Oz by dropping a house on her. So I get how she could be really mean and mad about that, but I guess I need to read the book. I think I need to read the book because I'm very confused. She's a good guy in this movie. She ends the movie as kind of being the good guy.
I do remember in the second act, like things wrap up and things make sense and they connect more to Wizard of Oz.
Yeah. So I need to read the book. I'm going to read the book. I'm going to go out and get the book because I just don't understand how this is the same.
I haven't read any of them.
I don't get it. I don't know.
But then, I need to look because one of my friends
I haven't seen the play, so.
They're like, I hope kids are not reading these books because they're not like the movie necessarily. And kids might be going in there expecting this to be kid friendly. And then it's not for Wizard of Oz and Wicked, I believe, but I haven't read any of them. So
yeah, I haven't read, I'm going to read the books. That's my goal. Cause somebody explain. I don't get how this is the same witch as Wizard of Oz. I don't get it. Like, I just don't understand. Long-winded. I apologize. Lauren, have you watched anything before we go?
I started season 4 of Superman and Lois. I'm really liking this season.
Nice.
This is the final season. I have it in the news. The first piece of news I have is it is on HBO Max. So I am now streaming it. I think I'm about halfway through. It's only 10 seasons, but it's really good. So if you haven't watched Superman and Lois, it's not about
10 episodes.
This season's 10 episodes. Yeah.
You said it's only 10 seasons. I was like, Lauren, wait, what?
That's Smallville. My bad. But it's not about Superman. It's not about Clark. It is about the Kents. Like it is about Superman and Lois and Jonathan and Jordan and their family and Smallville. So it's been very interesting and I'm really liking this season. I feel like they can go places they haven't gone before. Lex Luthor is the bad guy in the final season, which makes sense. I'm glad that they saved him and they explain where he's been and why he's so angry. And it's been very interesting to see. Really, really liking this. I love Tyler. I think it's Hoechlin. I love him as Superman.
I do too. He seemed good.
Killing it. And he does a great Clark Kent, because the fact of the matter is he is a dork. Like, he is naturally a dork. So he's not even trying to be Clark Kent. Like, he says things and does things, and his kids like roll their eyes, or like, because he's supposed to be like only a couple years older than me. So like, they have an event and somebody's like, well, can't you play like 311 or Blink? And like, Superman's in the background, like bopping out to the older music, like, and he should be liking Blink and 311.
Right.
So I'm really liking it. I think it's great. I think it's good. They're ending the Arrowverse with this. I feel like it's kind of ending it on a little bit of a higher note than some of the lows.
A lot of people are really into Superman and Lois. So I'm glad it ends on a high note, because the Arrowverse started off.
I haven't finished it yet, but yeah.
Well, and I just mean, like, people are really happy with how, from what I've seen. Obviously, I haven't watched it, but the TikToks and stuff like that I've seen.
I know, and I already had one thing ruined, and so, but I figured that was kind of inevitably going to happen anyways in this season. But they introduced him in Supergirl, and he was in Crisis on Infinite Earths, but they do nods and whatnot to everything else, but it's still very much so separate and connected. And they're living in Smallville with the kids. So it's good. I'm loving it. And I watched Supernatural pilot on DVD.
Yes.
All I will say.
Did it live up to?
Yeah, the music is so much better. I only watched the pilot. I started episode 2 and then I just turned it off. But in the pilot, they played The Gambling Man, played that one. And then they played The Big and Black by AC/DC. And they played Highway to Hell. At the end, like, after they sent the woman in white to hell, they're driving to Highway to Hell. And it just all made so much more sense.
We should at least watch the pilot when we come and visit for MegaCon.
We can do that.
We should at least do that, because I do want to see the difference with the songs, because I know that was a big hot topic. So
I kept pulling it up on Netflix. I'm like, I don't think this was in the original, but those are 3 songs that when I hear them, I do think of Supernatural.
Right.
So I pulled up Netflix on my phone and I'm like, and Braille's like, is it different? I'm like, it is. And then the second episode started with Hot Blooded. Da, 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 da.
That's cool.
So I'm very excited to watch more of it, but that's what I've been reading or watching.
Nice. Well, we're going to take a quick ad break real quick for Spraker, and we will be back with some news. All right, let's go into some news real quick. There are some things going on, man. Lauren, why don't you kick us off with some news? What do we got?
So Barfly, the comic I've been talking about, that's part of the Minor Threats universe. You can get that on Tradeback as of April 1st.
Ooh.
If you're not huge into comics, but like you kind of
buy the
try
trade for
something
this
out. Yeah, this is a great one, especially because it's called Barfly. So I feel like it's so good for a podcast.
We should get Kyle Starkman on to promote that out, because I want to talk Barfly.
Or maybe even Ryan Brown. Yeah, that was Kyle Starks and Ryan Brown.
Yeah.
Part of the Minor Threats universe. And speaking of Minor Threats, the next spinoff, Twilight City, which will involve Matt Fraction and Mile Allard, will release March 12th with issue 1.
Oh, very nice.
We got a little bit more comic book news.
What's
Jackson Lansing doing?
Our friend Jackson Lansing announced that the Hive Mind will be releasing a comic book on Free Comic Book Day. It's going to be Giant Size X-Men. They've been doing a lot right now with the X-Men universe, and they've been really crushing it. So it's really cool that they have something come out Free Comic Book Day, May 4th, I think it is.
Yeah, so there's no reason not to grab that. Yeah, it's usually the first week
absolutely.
Of May. It's free. It's literally going to cost you nothing.
Nice.
Except a trip to the comic book shop.
All right.
So the Quick Stops comic, which has been like an anthology, they've done 2 volumes so far. The last one, I mean, they've all been great. The next volume, volume 3, will be a tribute to what Kevin Smith said, the patron saint of Mallrats. And that is Shannon Doherty herself, who passed away last year. Which is crazy, because she was did a podcast with Kevin Smith, I feel like not long before she passed.
I think it was, I remember that actually. Yeah, you're right.
So I think that's really, sweet that she's doing that. She was obviously great in that movie, especially when the guy goes, Brenda. All right, so we do have some MegaCon announcements, but before we get into that, I think there's some Spider-Man villains.
We do. Let's go into some things. So Palak Patel, who oversaw the studio's Spider-Man villain spinoff movies, has left Sony Pictures. He has also served as the studio's point man on Tom Holland's Spider-Man trilogy, so he is no longer with Sony. And I think they pretty much disbanded their villain universe anyways, which is, come on. It needed to happen, man. It needed to happen. So that's what we have there.
So Denis Villeneuve insists that Dune Messiah will be his final Dune film, because after that it will become unhealthy. What does that even mean?
I don't know. It's also kind of disappointing that Dune really isn't getting any Oscar Oscars love. I don't care about award shows. But the fact that Dune is not getting any love at all is kind of disappointing. And again, you released it early in the year, so revisionist. I get Wicked and stuff. Yeah, Wicked should be up for things, but I think Dune 2 should be up for a lot of stuff. Is whatever.
I mean, it's good, but I don't know that there was anything that was like, holy shit. Like, I feel like
visually,
the scene with Wolverine talking to Deadpool in the car was like more
oh my, all right.
anything.
Anyways, let's talk about
even Moss
Backrack
scene.
Says he uses Ben Grimm's catchphrase, "It's clobbering time." In the Fantastic Four, he said this on Jimmy Kimmel. He said, "I slipped it in there a couple times. However, I don't have the final cut on this one, so we'll see what happens."
That's amazing.
Great.
So Last of Us will be out on HBO Max in April. So I think that's another one we'll have to recap. That's one I might have to rewatch. Hell.
Yeah, I'm in.
So were you a fan of Holes growing up?
I was. I read the book. I really enjoyed the book. I really enjoyed the movie with Shia LaBeouf.
Did you watch the Kevin Bacon who did one too, right?
He's in that. No, he is in that. He's the grandpa in the thing. I'm tired of this No, was that Kevin? That wasn't Kevin Bacon, was it? No.
No, there was an original Holes. Shia LaBeouf is a remake.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Then no, I didn't.
90s.
I did not know this. I the only one I know of is Shia LaBeouf. So my bad.
I thought it was. I'm Googling it now. Watch me be wrong. I could have sworn there was one with I probably am thinking of Tremors.
I think you're thinking of Tremors, which Tremors is celebrating a 35th anniversary this year, I believe.
Wow, and Holes is 21.
Jesus.
No, almost 22.
Yeah, you silly goose. Yeah, no, I liked Holes. I don't think it should be a Disney Plus series. It's probably going to be released, going to be junk, and then they're going to get rid of it like they did with Willow and they did with the Mighty Ducks. So, yeah.
Quack. So, David Zayas, Jack Alcott, and James Remar will all return for the new Dexter sequel series, Dexter Resurrection. And they'll all be series regulars. David Zayas, that's Batista, right?
Yep, Batista, and then his dad is James Remar.
Oh.
And Jack Alcott, I think, is his son.
Oh, yeah, that's his son. I just looked it up. His son did a great job. His son looks like Ethan Hawke.
Yeah, he does. He does, actually. So they'll be returning for that. Did you cover The Last of Us coming out in April?
Yep.
Okay. Well, with that,
MegaCon, we got some more MegaCon.
Let's get into some MegaCon. A lot of comic book creators were actually just announced. So just some that were recently announced. This is not the full list. We are getting Todd McFarlane, creator of Spawn. Ryan Stegman, who actually has been on the show before for Schlub, and he was there last year. I talked to him. I was very hungover. It was tough. I could not formulate a sentence talking to this man. It was so incredibly awkward. So I'm going to redeem myself this year and chat with him. But Stephanie Phillips will be there. She's a friend of the show. We haven't had her on yet. Hopefully we can get her on soon.
Yet. Yeah.
I invited her. I said, "Hey, Half Barrel, like we're gonna go there." Her and Brian Azzarello, they're both, she's big into the beer. Is what I'm trying to say. Goodness. So we'll see.
Oh, she was the one that actually was like giving recommendations when I was in Madrid.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot about that. That's right. Yeah. And she had been to the bar I was at.
Yes.
Very cool.
She's awesome. She's doing a lot. So she's been doing Spider-Gwen. She's got some distillery comics up. She's got a lot of things in the pipe coming out too.
She shared a bunch of stuff that she's releasing.
She's also a doctor. Okay. She's like, I don't think a lot of people know this, but I am she got her doctorate. So I'm going to call her Dr. Stephanie Phillips from now on. So,
what does she have her doctorate in?
I have no idea. I know she does. That's all I know.
So Frank Choi, Ryan Otley, and Ben Percy's going to be there again. I met him a couple years ago.
Ben Percy's your favorite.
I do. I love him. I got to meet him. He was as sweet as can be. He posed with those little markers in his fingers like claws. We talked a little bit about Deadpool and Wolverine because I had him sign my Deadpool and Wolverine issue because I loved how he depicted them. And, he's been doing all these Predator comics too. He does a fantastic job.
Oh, he has. Yeah, he has. He's been doing a lot of those. I've been really enjoying those, actually.
I like how that took you a minute. You had a Joey Tribbiani moment. I'm like waiting for him. Like, that wasn't the reaction I expected from that.
I had to think. It takes me a second.
So, today they just announced Cobra Kai will be there, which means we are getting William Zabka, Mary Mouser, Martin Cove, Tanner Buchanan, Brandon H. Lee, Paul Walter Hauser, and Yuki Okumato. He's one of the new guys. He's a mean guy. And Elizabeth Shue. So we now have Elizabeth Shue. We have Bobby Singer, Jim Beaver, and we have Alex Calvert. That's 3 people from the Boys universe. I'm just saying, it'd be really cool to see Jim Beaver and Elizabeth Shue together in a panel for the Boys. That would be really freaking cool. I also had hoped that they were going to do a Mallrats panel at New York, and they didn't. So hopefully they do. But fun. We also have Ashley Eckstein, who's always there, and she's always so sweet. Katie Seagal. And I mean, I was scrolling through today. It's an insane
The
list.
guests are pretty stacked this year. It's kind of wild. Like both comic books and non-comic book artist alley. My big hope is that they just don't have artist alley backed up to the actors and actresses again, because that made it really hard to funnel through and things of that. It was tough.
In the MegaCon Discord, and I'll have to look this up, it looked like they had a map going on already, and it looked like the artist alley was going to be next to comic creators, which I think is where it should be. I think.
Oh, heck yeah, please.
So I can send you what I have or what I find.
Yeah, send me that, because I would love to see how it's set up, because last year it was tough. There's so many good creators, but it was just really hard because of the way they set up.
And then you had somebody like Trevor who was kind of like off.
We walked right by him how many times?
And we were looking for him and we walked by him. So,
well, we have been going on forever, so I apologize, folks. But finally, let's get to the main topic, man. All right, we're going to be back in just a second after some quick commercial breaks with Toy Story, man. Be right back. All right, we are back with Toy Story. It is a Disney and Pixar film that released in 1995. It is 30 years old. Now, this is directed by John Lasseter. It stars Tom Hanks, Tim Allen as Woody, and Tom Hanks is Buzz Lightyear. Tim Allen is Woody. It's an all-star cast. We got Wallace Shawn as Rex, Annie Potts as Bo Peep, John Ratzenberger as Ham, Jim Varney, our very own Ernest, as Slinky, Laurie Metcalf as the mom, Estelle Harris as Miss Potato Head, and Don Rickles as Mr. Potato Head. Now, following the success of Tin Toy, which is a short film that was released in 1988, Pixar was approached by Disney to produce a computer-animated film that was told from a small toy's perspective. Lasseter, Stanton, and Docter wrote early story treatments which were rejected by Disney, who wanted the film's tone to be edgier. After several disastrous story reels, production was halted, the script was rewritten to better reflect the tone and theme Pixar desired. Toys deeply want children to play with, and this desire drives their hopes, fears, and actions. The studio, then consisting of a relatively small number of employees, produced Toy Story under minor financial constraints. We'll get into that in the production notes. First things though, it was a budget of $30 million. In the box office, returns was $394.4 million.
You can call that a success.
Yes. So Lauren, why don't you go ahead and give us the summary if for some reason people forgot what Toy Story was about.
So it's Andy's birthday, and the toys are all nervous that a new toy will replace them, giving them less toy action time. Enter Buzz Lightyear from Starkman.
To the rescue!
He replaces Woody as the number one and even gets his spot on the bed, which Woody does not take very well. No. After some Three's Company type misconstrued chaos, Woody and Buzz end up at the neighbor's house, Sid. Buzz learns he's a toy, and he turns into Mrs. Nesbit and gets strapped to a rocket. But Woody helps him pull it together, and they get back to Andy just as he's driving away to his new home. We end on the house at Christmas and a bunch of nervous toys again, and Andy gets a puppy.
Yeah. Do you remember did you see this in theaters?
I don't remember if I saw this in theaters. So it came out in 95. So I was probably like 12.
Yeah, I was only 5 years old. So I don't remember seeing it in theaters personally.
So I don't remember seeing it in theaters, but I do remember watching it a lot in high school. And cause I was in Guard and we would drive up to the national competition every year, which was usually in Ohio when you're in Wisconsin. And you're basically on a bus for 20 hours with your 18 closest friends and you're watching movie after movie. And this was one of them. So I remember Toy Story Center Stage was another one. And we would just watch these movies and then just quote them regularly. And I still quote them regularly to my kids. Oh, funny.
I do all the time.
Brielle put on Zoolander last night and she kept looking at me. And then when they came with a bruh, I'm not your bruh. She's like, that's what that's from.
Oh my God, dude. It's so funny seeing kids, the things that we say or the TikToks they see. And now that's what that movie's from. Yes. Don't hilarious. Quote this to me, child. I was there when it was written.
I'm like, what is this? A school for ants?
I love quoting Toy Story, man. I quote all the time too.
Yes. Uncultured swine, sad, strange little man, I think is my favorite line. And
you are a sad, strange little man. I am following with style.
Uncultured swine is so good. Yes.
This was a movie for me that as a kid, we had the VHS and I ran that VHS to its bone without a doubt. It was always on. It's perfect. It holds up 30 years later. There's the animation style very much holds up.
It's still pretty good. I mean, you can tell the difference between Toy Story 1 and Toy Story, 4, but it holds up. I'm looking at this toy I have. I think this is a McDonald's toy from the 90s. It's little.
I had that one too. I even had the little RC. They made an RC car that you could drive around. I had that as a kid as well.
Yeah. Yeah, they sell those at Disney.
Oh,
so I have little Rex here.
Toy Story Land is a big hit at Disney World or Hollywood Studios and things still because
Slinky Dog's a fantastic ride.
Our kids. I was going to say Oliver and Brielle rode that ride when we were there that one time, which is awesome. And it's a movie like my kids have seen millions of times. They love that movie. I have it on DVD because physical media. I bought it as soon as I could on DVD when the 2000s or whenever it came out.
Burned one
Yeah,
somewhere.
I have the DVD. It's obviously on Disney Plus. It's one movie that just transcends generations. It doesn't matter when you were born. Everybody has seen, and I have never in my life met somebody who did not like Toy Story. Honest to God.
Brielle tried to tell me it wasn't that good yesterday because I put it on.
Okay.
Like, well, the kids, but like Logan's never been eager to watch it, and he's a weirdo because like he would love car toys and didn't want to watch cars. So I put it on yesterday. And he's supposed to be doing his homework, and he kept looking and talking to me about it and asking me questions, which I didn't even stop him. Whatever, you can do your homework later. I'd rather you like Toy Story. But Brielle's
homework
like,
sucks.
Don't think. And I forget what she was saying, but I was like, I was about to like get mad at her. I had to I'm like, okay, I need to pull it back. Do not get mad at the 12-year-old because she said Toy Story is not that
You're
good.
just trying to be an edgy teenager. Shut up over there.
But I mean, we always thought it was hilarious. I mean, come on. He calls him Buzz Lightyear.
Dude, I don't care how old you are. There's no way you can sit there and look me in the eyes and tell me this is not a good movie. Are you serious?
I felt like this was really, I mean, Aladdin, you saw Robin Williams, I think, put some adult humor in there for us.
Oh, yeah,
we did get to see that in Lion King, but I felt like this was before Shrek. I felt like this was a movie that really was targeting the adults as much as it was targeting the kids.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree. And the humor holds up. And so not even that, but Mr. Potato Head's always cracking jokes Mr. Potato Head probably has the most adult jokes because he's like an old grouchy man. You know, he's very relatable in that regard. And you got Sid who's blowing toys up. So even if you don't like toys and things of that nature, Sid's out there blowing toys up, and you got the creepy dolls and toys. Sid just was not loved. Okay. Poor Sid. Yeah. Wasn't loved enough as a kid. So really, man, it's one of those things. So before we get into production notes, Lauren, why don't you take us into some fun facts?
So this was the first animated film nominated for the Academy Award for Best Screenplay, original or adapted. It is also the first fully computer animated film. This fun fact I thought was hilarious. Billy Crystal was actually offered Buzz, but turned it down, and he later said that was the biggest mistake of his career. Well, apparently John Lasseter found out that he had said that, and he called Billy to make him an offer for Mike Wazowski.
So I actually have one of this in the production notes. When he was approached with this movie, he was given his own monologue utilizing dialogue from When Harry Met Sally. He turned down the role, believing the film would be unsuccessful due to its animation, which then obviously upon seeing the film, he regretted. So because of that, he subsequently accepted the role as Mike Wazowski in Monsters, Inc. In addition to that, here's some other people that were in the forefront of the people's minds to play Buzz: Bill Murray, Chevy Chase, Jim Carrey, and then Jason Alexander, Dan Aykroyd, Matthew Broderick, Kevin Costner, Michael J. Fox, Richard Gere, David Hasselhoff, Michael Keaton, Wayne Knight, Bill Paxton, Dennis Quaid, Kurt Russell, Adam Sandler, and John Travolta were also all considered for the role of Buzz. But obviously,
they had no idea what Buzz was going to be. Those are very different personalities.
Later on, Lasseter took it to Tim Allen because he loved Home Improvement. So that was just kind of a funny note about that. And then real quick, Lasseter had always conversely wanted Tom Hanks to play the role of Woody because Lasseter claimed that Tom Hanks has the ability to take emotions and make them appealing, even if the character, such as like the one in A League of Their Own, is down and out and despicable. To gauge
crying in baseball.
Yeah, to gauge how an actor's voice might fit with a character, Lasseter actually borrowed a common Disney technique: animate a vocal monologue from a well-established actor to meld the actor's voice with the appearance or actions of the animated character. And the early test footage used Hanks' voice from Turner and Hooch, which then actually convinced Tom Hanks to sign onto this film. So it's really interesting that for Woody, it was always Tom Hanks, but for Buzz, it was a slew of characters.
Yeah. Well, it's funny, like there's so many fun facts that spin off of that. So, he liked him in Home Improvement, and then you get in that crate in Sid's room, you get Binford Tools, which is from Home Improvement.
Yeah.
And so did you know Woody is not always Tom Hanks? Like in the movies, he's always Tom Hanks, but his brother Jim Hanks voices a lot of the toys and video games and stuff.
Really?
I saw a whole
I did not know.
Tom Hanks talking about it. He's like, "Oh yeah, that's."
I didn't even know he had a brother.
Yeah, I mean, could you imagine like that's your job is just to fill
in? Tom Hanks' brother. Can you come and voice your brother's one of his most famous characters of all time?
But I've heard some of the toys and like it sounds just like him. And he's only doing over the top stuff, so I guess you don't really have to know how to act when all you have to do is say, "There's a snake in my boots."
Ooh, yeah.
But what was funny though is when John Lasseter did call Billy Crystal to speak to him, Billy's wife answered the phone and she said, "Hey, it's John Lasseter and he wants to talk to you." And I was going to say Mike Wazowski. Billy Crystal picked up the phone and just said yes. He's like, "Whatever you're offering me, I'll take it." Like he learned from his mistake.
I made a mistake. That's awesome. The carpet in Sid's is a nod to the carpet in The Shining. I did not realize that, but it makes a lot of sense.
Yes, they do have some creepy references throughout this. Buzz is, of course, a nod to the astronaut Buzz Aldrin.
He is, which I'll dive into here in a little bit with some more production notes as to how that all came to be.
So Sid blows up a Combat Carl. We later actually meet Combat Carl in the Halloween special Toy Story of Terror. He was going to be a G.I. Joe, but G.I. Joe said no.
Which is hilarious. I wonder, they said no, so I wonder if they're regretting anything at that point.
Did they come back? Because Barbie said no, too. I do have that in here.
Sorry, Barbie did say no, but didn't Barbie appear later on or something like that in different movies?
Exactly.
Okay.
So I don't know if G.I. Joe ended up coming back.
I don't think they did. I'm not sure if they did either. I'd actually have to look into that, but I knew Barbie did. That's right.
Yeah, so they wanted Barbie to have a big role, but Mattel said no, thinking the movie would fail. And because they felt Barbie shouldn't have a defined personality because kids should be able to use their imagination and see her however they want. Obviously, now we have the whole movie.
Right.
But after the success of 1, they came around and she's obviously in 2 and beyond. But we get multiple we get, tour guide Barbie and then we get Molly's Barbie. So we get different versions.
So since this movie was actually in 1995, they actually even started in 93. There were some things that were difficult to create, which included explosions, long hair, water drops. So there are a lot of things that they avoided doing. Explosions, we look away, and everybody has short hair or pulled back hair, which is really interesting when you look at the animation all holds up, but the way you look at animation now versus then, it's interesting how they couldn't do that kind of stuff. And the animation team actually perfected the movement of the toy soldiers by nailing a pair of sneakers to a sheet of wood and trying to walk around with them on. That's fun.
And then you see them at Disney.
I was going to bring that up. Yeah, they walk like that very much. I love the toy soldiers at Disney. I really get excited when I see them. For some reason, they interact with everybody and it's really cool.
Yeah. And they were on one of the runs I did, and they're like, "Come on, you can run faster than that!" And they're like yelling at people.
And I love that. Was it Lee Ermey or whatever his name is? Obviously, he was a drill instructor for the Marines, and he's in all sorts of stuff. He was the voice, I believe, of the
him.
Yeah. Everybody kind of knows him. When Woody is sitting on the bed talking with Slinky, there's a drawing of him on the wall behind them. This is actually an early sketch of the Woody character.
Ooh. I love when they do stuff like that. So an early draft had Woody being a complete ass. Disney wasn't having that and almost took over, but Pixar rewrote it and they lightened him up. I've seen some of the clips and it's like, what were they thinking?
I have, there's a lot of interesting stuff in the production notes that actually goes over that. I didn't realize this either. It's interesting.
Yeah, if you are fine, if you're listening to this and you're like, oh wow, this is really cool, this is really interesting. There are documentaries on Disney Plus about it because again, this was the first one. So this was
this is Pixar. Yeah, this is Pixar's first film.
So another thing Disney wanted was they wanted it to be a musical, like all of their movies were then. And Pixar, of course, won that one, which then I felt like they pulled away from musicals too much. And then we finally came back around with Frozen. So I'm glad we like both. So it's good to mix
We do. Yes. Oh, you know what I really love to eat at? The macaroons at the Pizza Planet place in Adventureland, I think not Adventureland. In Magic Kingdom, where Tron and everything is, they have the Pizza Planet. Tomorrowland. That's sorry. Jeez.
It's not Pizza Planet.
No, it's not, but in my head it is. Their macaroons are amazing. We always, and they're the shape of the little aliens. And Carrie and I always get them in the cream inside is a lemon zest kind of. It's really good, really fantastic. That's one thing we always get when we go to Magic Kingdom.
It's in Cosmic Rays in the sit down place.
Yeah,
the quick service sit down.
The quick service, yeah. It's at the very. When you
I don't think I've ever had those.
Tomorrowland, you go straight down. And you pass the toys, which I love the Toy Story ride as well. When you're Buzz and you're shooting Zurgs and everything.
Oh yeah, Buzz Lightyear.
That one's fun. But yeah, it's straight down. You can go left towards Tron or just straight, and it's the food place where you can get all sorts of food.
The outdoor food place.
Yeah, it's.
Oh, okay.
You go inside. You can quick queue it, or you can go inside, and then you can just sit outside. But yeah, the macaroons there, phenomenal. You have to try it. If you go there, it's good for quick food if you're just not sure what you want to eat and the kids are picky, good for that. Mm-hmm. And then also the macaroons, I cannot recommend enough. That's one thing we always get for whatever reason. Yes. And Andy's bedroom, there's actually a bookshelf with books titled Tin Toy, Knick Knack, Red's Dream, and Luxo Jr., all names of short Pixar did in the 1980s. Many Easter eggs end up all over other Pixar movies. Dinoco is in Cars, Pizza Planet Truck is in Brave, Buzz Toy is in Finding Nemo, and the list grows bigger with each and every film.
I love that. It's so fun.
I do too.
So did you know Lion King had about 800 people working on it, came out the year before, and they even play Hakuna Matata in the movie? Toy Story apparently only had like 110.
Yeah,
so I think it was, but I mean, you probably also had to have specific people that knew how to work the computers.
For sure.
So I thought it was interesting. I already mentioned. So Pizza Planet, the delivery boy enters the Dinoco gas station. He asks for directions to West Cutting Boulevard. West Cutting Boulevard is the street where Pixar Animation Studios used to be located at the time in Richmond, California.
Oh, that's cool. That's a fun fact. Last little fun fact.
So out of all the characters, Woody was the most complex, as he required 723 motion controls, including 212 for his face and 58 for his mouth.
Weird. I would not have guessed Woody would have. I figured Buzz probably would have been the most complex to do.
He's the most animated with emotions, and it's Tom Hanks. I mean, Tom Hanks gets so loud and big, and then so that makes sense. Whereas Buzz is very stoic. Yeah, very sad, strange little man, and you have my pity.
Let's go into some production notes. There's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that happened. Let's go first of all. So Lasseter tried to actually pitch The Brave Little Toaster originally as a fully computer animated film to Disney. The idea was actually rejected, and Lasseter was then fired from Disney. He then went on to work at Lucasfilm, and in 1986, he became the founding member of Pixar. In 1986, Pixar was purchased by entrepreneur and Apple co-founder Steve Jobs. At Pixar, Lasseter created short computer animated films to show off the Pixar image computer's capabilities, and in 1988, Lasseter produced the short film Tin Toy, which was told from the perspective of a toy referencing Lasseter's love of classic toys. Tin Toy won the 1989 Academy Award for Best Animated Short Film, the first computer-generated film to actually do so. And from there, Tin Toy gained Disney's attention, and the new team at the Walt Disney Company, CEO Michael Eisner and Chairman Jeffrey Katzenberg in the film division. They sought to get Lasseter to come back. Lasseter was grateful for Jobs' faith in him. He felt compelled to stay with Pixar, telling co-founder Ed Catmull, "I can go to Disney and be a director, or I can actually stay here and make history."
Katzenberg and bought by Disney.
Yeah, well, yeah, right. Isn't that funny?
Star Wars too.
So yeah, Lucas, every Fox, everything becomes Disney eventually. We all become Disney. Can this podcast become Disney, maybe?
Disney is Thanos.
Katzenberg realized he could not lure Lasseter back to Disney and therefore set plans into motion to ink a production deal with Pixar to produce a film. Disney had always made all of their movies in-house and refused to change this. However, when Tim Burton, who used to work at Disney, wanted to buy back the rights to A Nightmare Before Christmas, Disney struck a deal allowing him to make it as a Disney film outside of the studio. This allowed Pixar to make their movies outside of Disney.
Look at that. Jack Skellington making more cool things happen.
Liz, what's this? What's this? That's just Disney. What's this? I need to buy it.
Right? That's true. Jack Skellington tries to take over Christmas. Disney tries to take
Disney's taking over everything. Oh, what happens next?
So both sides were willing. Catmull and fellow Pixar co-founder Alvy Ray Smith had long wanted to produce a computer animated feature, but only by the early 1990s were the computers cheap and powerful enough to make this possible, and probably small enough. Yeah. In addition, Disney had licensed Pixar's computer animation production system, which is also called CAPS, and that made it to the largest customer for Pixar's computers. So Steve Jobs made it apparent to Katzenberg that although Disney was happy with Pixar, it was not the other way around. "We want to do a film with you," said Jobs. "That would make us happy." Catmull Smith and the head of animation, Ralph Guggenheim, met with Walt Disney Feature Animation president Peter Schneider in the summer of 1990. It's so crazy to think that that was 35 years ago.
Forever ago.
To discuss making a feature film. So this movie started production before Matt was born. You were born this year, but summer of 1990.
I was born October of 90, so I wasn't there yet.
All right, so they found the atmosphere to be puzzling and contentious. I like these words. They later learned that while Katzenberg was pushing the idea of working with Pixar, Schneider did not want to bring in a non-Disney animation studio. Katzenberg arranged to meet directly with the Pixar contingent, this time including Lasseter and Jobs. Go straight to the top, guys. Pixar team proposed a Christmas television special. What?
We love a Christmas television special.
You see my ears? I'm wearing the ears from Toy Story Time Forgot, which is a Christmas special. And I love that it takes place after Christmas because it's like, what are we even doing now? We're playing with all our new toys.
We are.
And I have the toys from the Christmas special here with their little armor on. All right. I'm off on my tangent. So a Tin Toy Christmas as a first step, but Katzenberg countered that as long as they were gearing up to transition from 30-second commercials to a half-hour special, they might as well go all the way and make a full-length feature film. Why the hell not? Go to the top.
Just do it.
Katzenberg also made it clear that he was only working with Pixar to get access to Lasseter's talents, and that the Pixar team would be signing up to work with a self-described tyrant and micromanager. I like that they say that, trying to get his access to his talents. That sounds like
we just want your talent.
Right.
Kind of.
It's like the Silver Samurai sucking the adamantium out of Wolverine. I just want your skills. However, he invited them to talk with Disney's animators and get their opinions on working under him, and Lasseter was impressed with what he heard. So you guys got to listen. You never know what you're going to hear.
Yeah, shut up and listen for a change.
Then began negotiations, although they disagreed on key points, including whether Disney would get the rights to Pixar's animation technology or whether Pixar would retain partial ownership of the film's characters and home video and sequel rights. As Pixar was nearing bankruptcy and desperate for funds,
that's how everything happens. Oh, yeah. Everything does.
They settled on a deal that would allow Disney to have complete ownership and control of the films and characters, including the rights to make sequels without Pixar's involvement, while Pixar would get approximately 12.5% of ticket sales. These early negotiations became a point of contention between Jobs and Eisner for many, many years. An agreement to produce a feature film based on Tin Toy with a working title of Toy Story was finalized, and production began soon thereafter. You gotta work together. Look at when we work together. You get Toy Story. You get Spider-Man, like Tobey Maguire, Tom Holland. Like that was Sony and Marvel having to work together. Do you think we could ever? I guess we probably could, because Disney keeps buying shit. Who Framed Roger Rabbit? I mean, look at all the characters in that movie. People had to negotiate all that, and we got a masterpiece out of it. So
we did. That's what I'm saying, man. Collaborate. Stop. Collaborate and listen. Originally, Toy Story was going to feature Tinny, the wind-up one-man band toy from Tin Toy short film, along with the dummy, which is a ventriloquist dummy. While the film's premise was still about toys desired to be played with by children, the rest of the film script, which involved Tinny being left behind at a gas station, meeting up with the dummy, and having a series of adventures before finding their way into a kindergarten classroom where they can be played with every day, was quite different.
Whoa, some of these sound familiar. We get a dummy in Toy Story 3. Oh, no, 4. In 3, they end up at the daycare where they can be played with every day.
Oh, that's right. Daycare. Yes, that's right. Katzenberg was unhappy with the treatment drafted by Lasseter, Andrew Stanton, and Peter Doc, as the two character motivations were too similar. Instead, he encouraged them to write it as a buddy film, giving the two main characters contrasting personalities and having them only become friends after they're forced to work together. Thus, the script went through,
like Eisner and Jobs.
Yeah. The script went through many changes before the final version was made. Lasseter decided Tinny was too antiquated. The character was first changed to a military action figure in the likes of G.I. Joe, like we talked about. And then was given a space theme. Tinny's name was changed to Lunar Larry, then Tempest from Morph, and eventually Buzz Lightyear after Buzz Aldrin.
Also known as Buzz Lightbeer.
Oh, yeah. Lightyear's design was modeled on the suits worn by Apollo astronauts, as well as the aforementioned G.I. Joe action figures. Also, the green and purple scheme on Lightyear's suit was inspired by Lasseter and his wife, Nancy, whose favorite colors are green and purple, respectively. Woody was inspired by a Casper the Friendly Ghost doll that Lasseter had when he was a child. He was a ventriloquist dummy with a pull string, hence the name Woody. This was until character designer Bud Luckey suggested that Woody could be changed to a cowboy ventriloquist dummy. Lasseter liked the contrast between the Western and the science fiction genres, and the character immediately changed. Eventually, all of the ventriloquist dummy aspects of the character were deleted, as the dummy looked sneaky and mean. However, they kept the name Woody to pay homage to the Western actor Woody Strode. Yeah.
You know, I'm sure you've heard the story of like Disneyland doesn't have the tunnels underneath like Disney World does, because they created that at Disney World because Walt Disney saw like an astronaut and a cowboy together, and he's like, no, this doesn't look right. These worlds need to be separate. So at Magic Kingdom, you have the tunnels. So like Buzz Lightyear will never be in Frontierland, and Woody
all
will
the
never
children
be in
who get lost
Tomorrowland.
Sucked down there to work in It's a Small World.
Yeah, and then they chain them by the ankle there. But it's funny because then they make this movie where like these characters are together in Toy Story Land, or like I think I've seen them together at like special events, and they will do stuff together. But you can't have them in those opposite worlds, which is, you know, it's funny.
Weird.
It's cute.
Yeah, no, it is.
So every couple of weeks, Lasseter and his team showed Disney their latest storyboards of footage. Disney was impressed by Pixar's technical innovation, but less so of the actual plot.
Interesting.
They're never going to be 100% happy. Katzenberg discarded most of Pixar's script ideas, giving his own extensive notes. Katzenberg primarily wanted to add more of an edge to it. He wanted the two main characters to have more of an edge, which makes sense, as Disney wanted Toy Story to appeal to both children and adults. There we go.
Oh, look at that.
And they asked for adult references to be added to the film. The characters ended up being stripped of their charm with Hanks while recording Woody's dialogue for the story reels, pointed out that the Woody character had been made into a real jerk. Pixar screened the first half of the film for Disney executives in November of 93, an event that they later referred to as the Black Friday incident. The results were not the best, as Disney's head of feature animation, Peter Schneider, said. So Katzenberg asked colleague Thomas Schumacher, why the reels were bad, to which Schumacher answered, quote, because it's not their movie anymore. It's completely not the movie that John set out to make, end quote. Yeah. Lasseter was embarrassed by the current state of the film, and he later even said, quote, it was a story filled with the most unhappy, mean characters I've ever seen, end quote. I mean, how would you feel if your entire existence was based on a child, like, playing make-believe with you?
Yeah, and they turn into like, yeah, and then a real jerk. You're a real jerk.
Have you ever seen the picture of, like, you know, as Andy gets old and he still has Woody and Buzz and it's so sweet, and then they like, then it cuts to like Andy dies and they're so sad, and then they bury Andy with the toys. So it's Woody and Buzz in a coffin with a skeleton.
Oh my God, that's terrifying. No, I have not seen. Oh my God, that's terrifying.
It was a comic strip I saw years ago.
Jeez, that's crazy. Right. Oh my God.
Hopefully he passes them. I mean, Bonnie has them now, but I do think that Woody should get the Andy should get them back and give them to his kids. So Pixar script rewrites, they took about 3 months, and they saw Woody then transform from a tyrant to a wise leader. I don't know if I'd call him a wise leader. He had a lot of issues. So it also included a more adult-oriented staff meeting amongst the toys rather than the juvenile group discussion that had existed in earlier drafts. Oh, I do like that when they're like, okay, we're having a toy meeting. So Buzz Lightyear's character was also changed to make it more clear to the audience that he genuinely doesn't know he's a toy. Yeah, that's a big point. Katzenberg and Schneider resumed production with the new script by February 94, and the voice actors returned 1 month later to record their new line.
Isn't it crazy how long this movie actually took to make, right? I mean,
it
1990, then 93, they had a test screening, which sucked. And then we're back to basics, back to formula. And here we are in 1995. It finally comes out. It's just crazy with 110 animators, which isn't a lot when you're making animated films. It takes a long time to make animated films. And so to work tirelessly for 5+ years to finally, and now here we are. It's interesting to see where this movie started at and what the movie would have been like had they stuck with the mean version of, I mean, Woody's a jerk, but it would have failed instantly. It would have been taken off.
Woody is kind of a jerk.
Yeah, but he's still a jerk.
Did they even call him? I feel like he gets called a jerk by Ham at some point.
He does, and they abandon him because the whole scene where, you know, he pretends Buzz has got the arm because his arm comes off. Buzz has lost all hope. And
Buzz was in a state of depression. That's so great. And I love how they make him like he's drunk, like having, I'm
Mrs. Nesbit. And it's great. And that, and probably my favorite sequence of events is the great chase scene with the RC cars and the moving van. That's one of those all-time greats.
Woody's off its rocker.
It really is one of those all-time great sequences in films that you still will see till the end of time, and it still holds up. That's probably my favorite scene. Do you have a particular favorite scene of this movie?
I think just when he calls him a sad string, he's like, "You are a toy.
You are sad.
You're a child's plaything. You're a sad, strange little man. You have my pity." That is my favorite line. Apparently, it was Tim Allen's favorite line too. It's just, it's so good, and like out of context, like. Well, and obviously uncultured swine is used pretty regularly.
Oh, always.
So
I say it all the time.
An absolutely phenomenal line.
Yes.
And those are two lines that if you don't know what they're from, you're like,
what are you talking about?
It's a hell of an insult.
It is. Both of them. I also really, I always, whenever there's something shiny, I'm like, it's the claw. That's one thing I always, to this day as well. But this movie's great, man. It's a 5 out of 5 for me, without a doubt. I have nothing that I would have liked them to change. It's a perfect film in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't think I can think of anything that they would need to do.
It's perfect.
Although we do want to know, where's Andy's dad? What happened to Andy's dad? Maybe the mom murdered him. He's in the backyard. That's why they have to move.
Andy's dad was just stepping out, all right? Listen. Andy was a whiny little punk who wanted to play with his stupid toys. I don't know. That is interesting. I'm very curious. We never get... Usually... years on,
we don't really need to. It's not relevant to the story.
No, but usually like the director creator will be like, oh yeah, this is where it happened to so-and-so. But you don't get that.
Right. And Molly's little. Molly's a baby in this one.
Yeah.
So there had to have been a dad around not too long ago.
He's still fresh. We don't ever get weekends with Andy's dad. That's weird.
Maybe
Christmas could have been with Andy's dad. I don't know.
No,
Andy's dad's
because
got a whole new
it
life.
ends at Christmas when he gets a puppy. And then how sad is it when you see, was it Toy Story 3 when the puppy is like so old? Oh,
Dude,
I remember seeing that in the theater and my
started.
heart just dropping.
Toy Story 3 was depressing, okay? When they were about to go down the conveyor belt and die. Come on, man. That movie's depressing.
Okay, how old was Oliver alive when Toy Story 3 came out? No, he wasn't, because Austin was an infant.
Oh, yeah, so no.
So you didn't have kids the first time you saw this movie. If you had kids the first time you saw this movie, when Andy goes away to college,
oh, it probably would have hit.
That's the saddest scene. Yeah. And so then I remember we were going to South Africa and I couldn't sleep. So I'm just watching movie after movie on the plane. And I put that on and Josh looks at me. He goes, "Oh, so you want to cry on the plane? Huh? You're going to cry again?
You want to be depressed, huh? Stupid."
I'm like, shut up.
Stop.
Yeah, I think it came out in 2011.
Oh, yeah. That would make sense then.
No, maybe 2010.
Anyways, it's depressing, that's for sure. And Toy Story 4 had Keanu Reeves and we got Forky and all that. So apparently they're making Toy Story 5. That'll come out at some point. 2010
Toy Story 3. Yeah.
That's our discussion about Toy Story. I really enjoyed. I loved it. I love this movie so much. It's weird that's 30 years on now. It's timeless. Belongs in the museum, which I'm pretty sure it's in the Library of Congress or whatever they call it for movies. So that's where they're at. Yeah.
Yeah, lots of anniversaries this year, so we will be doing more anniversary.
We have so many. I mean,
year.
So God bless. Batman Begins is 20. Lion King. We've got
X-Men is 25.
X-Men. We've got Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is 35. You know, it's Star Wars: Revenge of the Sith is 20. Empire Strikes Back is 45. This is a big year for anniversaries and films. We're going to be covering them throughout the years, so make sure you tune in. Like, subscribe, share, follow, all that good stuff. Turn the notifications on to never miss an episode. Shout out to our patrons real quick. Riley, Corey, Lynn, Tabby Scott, Patrick, Stacy, Jess, Tracy, and Micah, who support the show. Again, join our Discord if you want to come hang out, chat with us. And then if you want ad-free episodes, you want to pick a movie you want to watch all together and we can just talk and BS while we watch movies and whatnot, you can join patreon.com/HopsGeekNews. Everything that comes to the show, we put right back into it. We are going to be at MegaCon in a month now. We have 2 panels and we are going to be doing press. We're going to be running around Half Barrel Beer Project. We will be there Saturday night at 7:30, probably hanging out, having beers. Come out, come say hey if you see us. And we'll be at the after event at Universal as well, Friday night. So if you're at the Universal after event for MegaCon, again, come say hi, come see us. We'll be in the Orlando area that weekend. If you see us at the con, come see it. We'll have stickers. We'll have all sorts of good stuff. We'd love to take pictures and say hey to you guys. And thanks again so much for listening. We'll be back next week with another good episode. We'll see you then. Cheers, everybody.